Molly Tibbetts was born on 8th of May, 1998 in San Francisco, California. When she was in the second grade, her parents divorced, and Molly moved to the state of Iowa, together with her two brothers and their mothers, although her father stayed in close contact with his children as well. After graduating from school, Molly began studying psychology at the Iowa State University. In her free time, she worked at a children's day camp, practiced cross-country running, and enjoyed the company of her many friends. Her Instagram was filled with many cheerful pictures, and her status read, "It's a great day to be alive." In the summer of 2018, she was living in a small Iowan town of Brooklyn, a quiet place with a population of barely 1,500 people. It seemed like nothing bad could possibly happen. On June 18th, 2018, Molly was preparing to go out for a jog. While in Brooklyn, she was staying with her boyfriend, Dalton Jack, at his brother's house. Dalton had to drive more than 130 miles away to visit a different town for work reasons, and that evening Molly was alone in the house. At around 7:30 p.m., Molly sent her boyfriend a photo through Snapchat and left for her jog. On the next day, Molly did not show up for work, causing her family and boyfriend to worry. After all, they knew someone as responsible as Molly would never miss work without a warning. When she also failed to answer her phone or text back, her parents decided to contact the police, who immediately began a search for Molly. Molly's disappearance immediately became a countrywide sensation. For the people of Brooklyn, it came as a huge shock. Their small town never experienced anything like this before, and the citizens felt safe enough in their community that they did not even lock their front doors. Molly's father, Rob Tibbetts, came to Brooklyn from San Francisco in order to participate in the search. He assisted the investigation in every way he could, from handing out flyers and missing posters to questioning the neighbors. Molly's parents never stopped hoping that their daughter would come back alive and unharmed. The investigation was carried out simultaneously by the Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation, Poweshiek County Sheriff's Office, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Altogether, they followed up on more than 2,000 leads and questioned more than 500 people. The search for Molly Tibbetts covered the entirety of Brooklyn and its surroundings. At one point, the authorities received a tip-off that Molly has been spotted at the truck stop in Kearney, Missouri, some 230 miles away from Brooklyn. The police followed up on this lead and could not find any confirmation. As is typical for such cases, the authorities also explored the possibility that Molly's boyfriend could be involved. According to statistics, most crimes of this nature are perpetrated by friends and family of the victim, but not this time. Dalton was confirmed to have been in a different town that evening, and there was no way for him to be in Brooklyn at the time. Time went on, but the search for Molly did not yield any results. The authorities promised a monetary reward for any information that could lead to finding the victim. The amount constantly increased, almost reaching a $400 mark, a record-breaking sum in the state of Iowa. At one point, the police announced that the search area has been narrowed down to only a small number of locations in vicinity of Brooklyn. Those were her boyfriend's house, several local farms, the gas station, the truck stop, and the car wash. Unfortunately, they still failed to find Molly. The authorities received hundreds of leads, but each of them led only to a dead end. There was, however, one lead that ended up being particularly unusual. At June 26th, the investigators searched a pig farm in Guernsey, Iowa. The farm belonged to one Wayne Cheney, a man that was previously arrested for stalking and harassing women. The owner was very reluctant to cooperate with the investigation. He denied his involvement in Molly's disappearance, but refused to be questioned with the use of a polygraph device. These factors made him the lead suspect in the case, but no evidence against him could be found. Just one day later, the investigators confirmed that Molly was not on the pig farm. Everything changes on the 21st of August. A few days before this fateful date, a source among the investigators informed the media that the police have discovered the body of a young white woman. It was immediately assumed that the body belonged to Molly, and, unfortunately, the assumption was correct. On the 21st of August, the police made an official announcement that the body of Molly Tibbetts was discovered in Brooklyn, Poweshiek Country. She was identified by her parents. The investigators also noticed that Molly was missing two items that she always took with her when jogging: her smartphone and her fitness tracker. Soon after, the medical experts confirmed that Molly was attacked and suffered multiple sharp force injuries. The news shocked the citizens of Brooklyn to the core. Almost everyone in this small town knew each other by name. and it was terrifying to think that one of them was a vicious criminal. The media attention quickly made Molly's story famous throughout the country. The grisly crime was finally solved shortly after that, when the authorities arrested the 24-year-old Christian Rivera. He was an illegal Mexican immigrant that crossed the border to the United States 7 years prior to the crime. He spent this time working on different farms, receiving his pay under the assumed name John Budd. The investigators managed to get on his trail thanks to the recordings of a home surveillance system of one of Brooklyn's citizens. When examining the recording, they discovered a Chevrolet Malibu repeatedly driving through the area where Molly was jogging, and the car was quickly linked to Christian. We do not know exactly how the confession was obtained. According to the official version, Rivera confessed to everything as soon as the investigators approached him. He explained that he was driving on the street where Molly was jogging and immediately felt attracted to her. As a result, he drove past her several more times, and it seems like it was at this moment that he was recorded by the surveillance cameras. Eventually, he exited his car and started jogging alongside Molly. When he made advances towards her, Molly got angry and threatened to call the police before turning away and resuming her jog. Rivera said that at that point he was consumed by anger and has no clear memory of anything that happened afterwards. He got back in his car and then, inexplicably, found himself near a cornfield in the rural countryside of Poweshiek country. He looked down and discovered an unfamiliar earphone on his knees. He told the investigators that upon realizing that Molly was lying in his trunk, he took her in his arms and carried her some 60 feet away into the cornfield. There, he placed her on the ground, facing the sky, and covered her with corn leaves. However, after being arrested, Rivera suddenly changed his tune and declared that he can't remember anything about that terrible night. It could very well be that his lawyer convinced him to withdraw his confession. Rivera was charged with murder on 2nd of August. When the trial began at the 19th of September, he insisted on his innocence. Overall, his trial took 3 years, in many ways thanks to Rivera's relatives, who hired a pair of lawyers in an attempt to get him acquitted, or, at very least, get him a lighter sentence. The trial attracted great attention from the American public, and for a very good reason. The crime was committed during Donald Trump's presidential term, and one of the main points of his administration was establishing stricter immigration policies, especially regarding the Mexican border. Because of this, Rivera's crime became a huge political talking point for Donald Trump and his supporters. The tragic fate of Molly Tibbetts was brought up as an example of why America sorely needs Trump's immigration reforms. Even though Molly's father tirelessly protested against using his daughter's death for political purposes, his words were ignored, as Molly's death was continuously discussed in political contexts throughout the country. It was difficult to remain unbiased on the subject of dangers posed by illegal immigrants when Molly's murder at the hands of one was so widely publicized. The COVID-19 pandemic also affected the speed of the court proceedings. Rivera's criminal trial only began on May 17, 2021. Rivera maintained his innocence, but on May 28th, he was found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life imprisonment without parole, the harshest possible sentence in the state of Iowa. He will now spend many decades in prison, fed, clothed, and supported with taxpayer money. Leaving aside all political issues, there is still a sobering lesson we can learn from the tragic tale of Molly Tibbetts. Danger can lurk around every corner, even in places where we least expect it. Any of us could be in Molly's place. Always stay vigilant and keep yourself safe.